Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I want to share a drawing I did for Inktober when the prompt was eagle, and I thought it'd be really fun to draw an eagle holding an eagle pencil, sketching a landscape with eagles in it. I know, completely dorky, right? But it was so much fun. By the way, if you like my way of using alcohol markers and you'd like to learn how I do it, I have a new course called Alcohol Marker Workshop, and it's 50% off for launch special right now in my Teachable School. I'll put a link down below along with a coupon code. And that special is going to go on through the end of the month, November 2022. So if you want to check that out, you got some time to do it. And I would love to teach you how I use alcohol markers in that class. I'm starting off by sketching with just a regular old pencil. This is actually a Blackwing matte, which is a really nice pencil, very soft. What I like about that is I don't have to press very hard to get a nice line, and it's dark enough to show up on video, which if I wasn't doing a video, I'd probably draw a lot lighter just because only I would need to see it. But to make it show up on film, I gotta go a little darker. I'm using a white plastic eraser. This one happens to come from the Dollar Tree. I don't find a huge difference in quality between the white plastic or white vinyl erasers. And I do really like those because they're not very smudgy and they don't mar my paper, and they're very gentle, so they don't tend to pill my paper if you do have a delicate paper. The paper I'm using is the Arctic's Mixed Media pad. It is like a smooth Bristol, so it's not like your typical rougher mixed media paper. It's more like a smooth Bristol or a smooth cardstock. So if you want a similar effect, choose a paper like that. I'm not sure if this pad is still available. I will link it up if it is. It may be available in a different size. It seems like I haven't been able to find the square ones this year, and I've been using this sketchbook since last Inktober. I tend to bounce around and use different papers depending on the effect I'm going for. So like if I know I want to do just markers, I'll go with a smoother paper. If I know I'm going to want to put quite a bit of pastel or pencil on top, then I'll use something with a little bit more tooth. I really enjoy exploring different papers, but I would say if you're a beginner, it's a good idea to pick one or two papers and really get to know them so that you're not adapting to different paper every time you're trying to learn, every time you draw, because it just would make the learning process a little more difficult. I'm putting in as many details as I'm going to need to do the inking, so I'm trying to get that the detail of where the feathers are, how they're going, kind of get the face and the beak right. And the reference image I'm using is a public domain vintage illustration, and I really liked that gesture of the swoop of the bird, even though it's not a super detailed reference image. I thought that was going to work out really well for this, and then I could kind of fudge the rest of it, put the pencil in his talons, and then kind of draw the landscape there. So I'm using a little straight edge to help me line that up. That I'm not exactly sure where that came from. I think it came in a subscription box with a pen. It's just a little lettering guide. I don't do calligraphy, but I find that really thin straight edge to be very handy when I just need to make a straight edge somewhere. And when I'm drawing and I'm not really paying attention to filming, I tend to look right down over my artwork, so I tend to get my head in the way. So I do apologize for that. The pen I'm using to ink with is one of my new favorite discoveries during this year's Inktober, and it is a Tombow Fudenosuke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Feud. Anyway, I'll link it down below. Pen, and this is the navy bodied one. They're all black or gray ink, but this has a navy blue body, which means it's the hard tip version. They also have a soft tip version, and I like the hard tip one, and that could be because that's what I got used to, but they both work very well. And what I'm going to link to is a 3-pack because it's cheaper than just buying one pen, and it gives you a hard tip, a soft tip, and then a twin tip, which has gray ink on one side and black ink on the other. And the thing I really like about these pens is that they will be, once they're dry, they're waterproof under watercolors, and they're also non-smudging under alcohol ink. So since I work in both medias, it's kind of one of those kind of best of both world products for me. Oftentimes, I'll do my inking at the end of an artwork. You can do it either way, honestly. And if you're not sure what kind of pen you have, you're not sure if it would be smudgy, you can always do your inking later. For this one, I wanted to get the inking done right away because I felt like my sketch was pretty accurate. And I'm just giving it a quick blast of my heat tool just to make sure that ink is fully dry before I go over it with the alcohol markers. And also, I'm going in with my eraser and erasing any pencil lines that may remain. And I just keep a soft, dry watercolor brush handy to brush off the crumbs. And you can use that brush again for your watercolors. Just make sure if you're going to use it to brush away crumbs that it's completely dry before you do so. I'm starting in with some kind of light tan colors and some yellows to get those lighter areas there. So the area where I put the really light cream color, that's an area that's really going to be white, but you have a little bit of shadow on there. And then I did the beak and the talons with some yellow. The eagle pencils are kind of turquoise in color with silver on the end and silver on the logo. And so I just was trying to replicate that vintage eagle pencil. I'm using markers from the company Sanjoki. They are quite a steal right now. At least they are at the time that I am filming this video. I think they're up to around 47 something for a pack of 120 in a beautiful case with marker paper and a swatch and a protective pad, and also swatch labels you can stick on your markers so you can have an accurate representation. They are a wonderful set, a wonderful buy, and I highly recommend them as long as the price doesn't go too crazy. So if you are in need of alcohol markers or looking for a gift for somebody in your family or some artistic friend, they are a great buy, and the case is actually really nice because it holds your markers at an angle when you're using them. I use those a lot for my alcohol marker workshop course because I just love the fact that it was affordable and you got a really good range and it wasn't overwhelming. There wasn't too many markers. It was just enough in a lot of situations. And yeah, it's just a really nice, a nice buy. I have a review on those too if you want a little more information on them. So now I'm going in with this kind of like almost terracotta orangey color and it's kind of an orangey brown, I guess almost like a burnt sienna. And I am just kind of base coating in the leaves there where I see the warmer undertones. And yeah, I'm just kind of coloring in basically. And I'm going in with a lighter brown and just kind of coloring that next layer and just kind of like brushing it up into the burnt sienna color. Sometimes I work dark to light, sometimes I work light to dark. It really depends. I notice if I do my inking first, I may do light to dark just because I've got that stability and structure of those black lines. I've got my darkest value already, so then I can go back and forth however I want. If I have not drawn if I haven't inked yet, I might go dark first just so I can establish those values. But yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit here, adding some shadows here with the darker color. This paper, because it's a little thicker, it's a little bit more absorbent. It does blend pretty well. You'll notice like the thinner marker papers don't tend to blend. They tend to be more layering papers. And that's why I say don't try to learn with markers using too many papers at once because it could get a little overwhelming and confusing. Have a paper or two and go from there. This is very similar to like, there's also a cardstock, which has actually gotten kind of difficult to find, called Nina Classic Crest, and I really enjoy that cardstock, but it's been difficult to find. Accent Opaque is probably the another good one, not quite as good as Nina for blending, but not bad and certainly really cheap. And here you can see I went dark to mid-tone and then worked that into the lighter areas, and then I'll kind of blend it out with my lighter areas to kind of I want to get a little bit of that feathery texture, and I want them to blend a little bit, but I don't want a super smooth blend because I want it to I want to show that texture, that bit of texture that's in the feathers there and in the legs. You'll notice if you have a limited supply of markers that you do rely on layering and blending more, and that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you have enough markers that you can get the range that you want. I know a lot of people have marker sets ranging in the 350 range, and I know Ohuhu just came out with a set of 320, which actually was also a pretty good buy. When I reviewed it, I didn't know how much it was going to cost, so it was hard to be really I was a little skeptical because I thought it was going to actually be more expensive than it ended up being. But I mean, if you do want a big range, you can definitely find them. My warning is just that you don't get overwhelmed because it's really easy to get overwhelmed when you have too many supplies. So that's another reason I like this set. I wish there were a couple more cool grays in this set, honestly. But I mean, to have one complaint, I don't think that's a really huge one. You can always buy an open stock marker here and there if you need to. But for the price, I mean, I really don't have any complaints. And again, sorry for my head popping in there. I'm using some really light warm grays here just to get some more shadow on the white feathers, give it a little bit more depth and dimension. And this is kind of fun. I love this kind of tweaking stage where you're just kind of putting in a few details towards the end. And I'm kind of I went in there when the bird was dry, so I would keep those little bit of like it wouldn't just blend out. I wanted to see a little bit of texture. Now I want to do this to be like he's drawing the scene on the paper. So I'm just going in with my pencil and just kind of loosely sketching a mountain range, some landscape, some trees, that sort of thing, just to give it I don't know, I thought it was kind of quirky and fun to have the eagle drawing with an eagle pencil, a scene with some eagles in it. So that's what I'm doing there. Nothing too earth-shattering, just using that same black wind pencil. So it does have a little bit of reflection to it, but I think you get the gist. And you can see the photos at the end, how everything came out. I did want to make sure I had some toning everywhere so it would be different from the white of the paper. And I noticed there's a little bit of a yellow cast over my sketchbook, and that's because I had my overhead lights on. Because I wasn't live narrating this, I did turn the camera on to film it. I really wasn't sure if I was actually going to use it. It's a little easier for me to see the more light I have on. And so I had my overhead lights, which actually have a little bit of a yellow cast to them while I was sketching here. So, of course, it does make a little more glare on the graphite. And, but I like this pencil. I like this pencil a lot. I like it more than the matte black pencils that I recently purchased. I haven't got on great with those, but I do like this, this Blackwing one. I'd be curious to try the other Blackwing pencils out there, but they're so dang expensive. And I know there is a pack you can get that has like 3 different grades in it, but the per pencil price is just so high. I bought a pack of 24 of these matte black ones and gave some out as Christmas gift baskets last year. I really like them though. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I really like how this came out. You'll be able to see in a couple minutes when I show the still photos without the glare. If you want, I would use it in an eraser, one of those little Tombow Mono skinny erasers to erase some highlights, which I think was pretty helpful because once you tone an area, then you can go back in with an eraser to bring your whites back. And then I went in with a white gel pen to highlight some areas, and there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this time lapse. Hope it inspires you to get your markers out. And if you'd like more training, check out my alcohol marker workshop. Everything is linked below, and it's 50% off this month. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.